Hey, what's going on, everyone? Tonight we're going to be talking about ADHD and autism and other neurodevelopmentals as well. So that can include things like dyslexia and OCD and learning disabilities and things like that. But the main topic is why a lot of these kids with these neurodevelopmental disorders, they can act or behave as if they're intoxicated. So I'm going to go over why that is. Most of these kids that are struggling with a neurodevelopmental issue, they have what's called a bacterial overgrowth in their small intestine. And when that happens, it's kind of given the opportunity to grow out of control, and this can produce large amounts of what's called propionic acid, which when there's a high level of this acid, this propionic acid in the body, it's able to act like a drug. And when there's enough of it, this causes them to be able to behave strangely as if they're intoxicated by medication. So the reason that there's excessive amounts of propionic acid in their system is because of that bacterial overgrowth in their small intestine, which kind of lets this run rampant. So some people actually believe there's a theory that the transition from just a neurodevelopmental disorder to autism is when the propionic acid levels get high enough to saturate the brain and begin their sedating effect on the child's behavior. So once the bacterial overgrowth then is reversed, and once we get that under control, then those propionic acid levels are going to decline, obviously. And once this happens, that child's going to become more energetic and alert and more aware of their environment, more interactive, more calm and collected, and stuff like that. So the number one goal is, if they do have that bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, is to get rid of that so that we can lower those propionic acid levels, which may be causing them to act as if they're intoxicated by some kind of medication and act kind of sedative. So once we're able to drop those propionic acid levels, then the kid's able to catch up developmentally. So the brain has a really good ability to catch up. So even though they may be slowed developmentally, then once the underlying root issue is taken away, then they're able to catch up, and that less inflammation, which is caused by that bacterial overgrowth, can allow that microglia to prune the brain the way that it should and proceed with a normal pace of development. So that's what we want. As well as helping with the autism and ADHD with this bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, restoring that balance can actually also help with anxiety and insomnia, migraines and headaches, dyslexia, and things like that. So that's kind of one common theme for kids with neurodevelopmental issues, is they have gut issues, and whether that is in their large intestine or it's a bacterial overgrowth in their small intestine, addressing those two things is going to be kind of the key in helping these kids. And the way that we do that in the office is, you can take prebiotics, which are different than probiotics. Prebiotics are going to help nourish that small intestine bacteria that's supposed to be there, and it's going to kind of weed out that stuff that's not supposed to be there and that overgrowth that shouldn't be there. And then also our care is really focused on bringing the kid into what's called like a brake pedal mode for their nerve system. So what I mean by that is, when you're in a brake pedal mode, that's when your internal organs and your digestive system are going to work as they should. And versus if you're in a gas pedal mode, which a lot of these kids are, they're going to struggle with that, and their digestive system and their GI tract is not going to function the way that it should. So kind of attacking it from those two different angles is what we're going to be doing in the office. But the number one thing that we want to do is get rid of that bacterial overgrowth, if that is the case, because that's going to be spilling a large amount of propionic acid into the body. Hello, Kaylee. Thank you for joining. But that is about the end of this live. So I'm going to be doing these hopefully pretty close to every single evening. So if you guys ever have a topic that you'd like me to cover, feel free to leave that in the comments or private message us, and we'll try to answer your questions as best as possible. But that's what I have for you today, and I hope to see you guys next evening with what we'll be talking about then. So have a good night, guys.